Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash to Correspondents, where we're looking forward to a West Country / Midlands derby in game week 8. And both should be of interest to FPL assets. Yes, really, even Bradley Parker's Wolverhampton Wanderers. How are you, Bradley? And he's frozen, and I feel like I could just fucking start this podcast again. What do you reckon, Lee?
Take two.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And we're looking forward to a West Country Midlands derby in game week 8. And both teams should be of interest to FPL managers. Yes, even Wolves. Let me introduce you to our Wolverhampton Wanderers correspondent, Bradley Parker. How are you, Bradley?
I'm great. Thanks, you.
Yeah, all the better for this take two, mate. Glad that you're well. And our Aston Villa correspondent, Lee Jackson's in. How are you, Lee?
Wonderful.
What year is that shirt? Is that like 1955 or something?
Ooh,
I reckon that's a good guess, isn't it?
2 out. 57.
2 out. What year?
FA Cup winning, 57.
57. My dad would be well impressed that I was quite close there.
I think that's the last time they won
it. Settle down, Bradley. But yeah, it is. He's not wrong.
I was going to say, he's right, isn't it?
Yeah,
isn't that the last time you won the FA Cup?
He is correct.
Bradley, I love that you got to dig in because you're all best mates already. This little bit of rivalry that we've had in the past. But I mean, you last won something when? Right, exactly. Well, don't answer it, mate. Don't answer it. This is going to be a fun one. Bradley, we haven't spoke since you were on Correspondent Week. And at that time, Julen Lopetegui was your manager. And yeah, I think we may have said he might not make September. Well, he didn't even make game week 1. If we can just rewind to that point, what was your emotions at that point when it became clear that he was going to step aside? Bradley, you're killing me, mate.
That's it. That was his emotions when he told him he was going to step aside. Just, he froze. Oh, dear, bless him. Get the old Ethernet cable out, plug it in.
Bradley, we last spoke Correspondent Week, and I believe Julen Lopetegui was still your manager at that point. Just go back in time a little bit for us if you can. What was your feelings on the eve of the season the managers decided to step away?
I thought we was in some right shit. We haven't even signed nobody at that point. And then the manager's gone. And you could tell that the club, well, it come out eventually that the club knew he was going to go, and they just had a quick shortlist, and then we ended up with Gary. But it sounded like, I think it was after the Celtic friendly match, he told the club he wanted to leave. He was going, but he stayed until they could find a replacement.
Who'd you blame for that? The club or him or? Do you reflect on it now and think Lopetegui thought it was bigger than the club, or?
I've said that before, that like Wolves needed him more than he needs Wolves, and he's probably always knew that. But if the club have gave him like the keys to the job and have paid him so much money, then at the end of the day they've got to back him. Otherwise, they know that was always going to happen. So the club can't like. I don't think they can moan at him like for leaving that much if they've sold him down the river.
That's it. Do you reckon they promised him like money to spend X, Y, Z, and then didn't deliver on it?
Sounded like from what he said, they pulled the rug under him a few times. So they probably said one thing, then it's changed now. The situation's changed. I think that happened about twice.
Reaction to Gary O'Neill when you first heard?
I wasn't that impressed. I don't really know what to think. I know Neil wasn't bigging him up too much either. So I thought.
You're referring to Neil Grover, our Bournemouth correspondent.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah.
I'm still not too sure at the minute, but.
No. We'll come on to some of the recent performances because there's definitely a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde going on, which I want to cover off. And reaction to the reports from the club, which basically said after Lopetegui went, was like, well, we can't spend any money. We're potentially hampered here by FFP. Is that, do you believe all that? I know there's a lot of Wolves fans been questioning that, saying, not sure if that's just an excuse or if it's real.
I think it's probably using a bit of both. I reckon it is an excuse to lead on a crutch, but they did spend a lot of money last summer, so they probably have to balance the books somewhat, but over again, much they can actually spend, because they did end up spending some money in the end.
That was the Nunes money, basically, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
He got a good reception Saturday, didn't he?
I wasn't at that match.
No, Bradley.
No.
You always go and you miss beating the treble winners at home. Right. For the Wolves fans watching, you know Bradley is the curse and the reason why now. Lee, how are we feeling about Mr. Unai Emery? It kind of feels on the outside like you're almost still in honeymoon. Even still, like 11 months in, 10 months in.
Yeah, it does feel like that, honestly. The love for that man that the club and the fans have got for him is just unreal. We did, I suppose, the honeymoon period did come to an end in about March time when we lost back-to-back home games, went out the cup to Stevenage, lost at home to Leicester, then lost at home to Arsenal. And that was a bit the first point where fans were like, oh, okay, he's not the Messiah. But on reflection now, he is pretty damn close.
So it is like duty here just to get out of domestic cups as quick as possible so you can have a tilt at the league and the Europa. Yeah. Because obviously that was a strange result again last midweek, wasn't it? Against Everton.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, there was rotation again, a few failed experiments like John McGinn at left back, which I hope we never see again. But yeah, I think if you said to any Villa fan, which is more important, Carabao Cup or Conference League, they're all going to say Conference League. We want a run in Europe. We want to have a crack at this. I mean, bookies, for what they're worth, have got us as favourite to win the whole thing. So yeah, let's give it a real go. It's a hell of a long way to go, but
it's only about 4 teams go in it, mate. Calm down, mate. And you're one of them, aren't you? I mean, by default, West Ham were favourites in it near enough all of last year as well. Yeah, so exactly. That's kind of default position, isn't it?
Yeah, but
you should actually win the trophy, shouldn't you? That's not.
Yeah, well,
it's a long way, but
as a club that haven't won a trophy since 1996, we'll take those bookies odds and get very excited about it.
Yeah, West Ham hadn't won one since 1980, and they had every right to get excited about it as well. I get that. Do you think? And obviously, like we're pre-recording on Monday night, and you've obviously got a game coming up on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Like, how big of a distraction do you feel like this is? Because also, to be honest, the performance in match they won in Warsaw, I understand, wasn't great either.
No, it wasn't. I mean, they chucked in like Longley, who'd only been at the club about 4 weeks. Callum Chambers was in at right back, who also hasn't played a lot under Emery. So again, it was lots of rotation, and I guess Emery misjudged it and thought that we had that depth that would be good enough. Tielemans wasn't great, and he came into the side as well. So rotation, squad depth, maybe not quite where Emery thought it was. So we may see less of that going forwards. And we may see some of it in the league. We've got a nice fixture run coming up.
That's why you're here, mate.
There was some logic behind this, wasn't
there? Yeah, to be honest, actually there was, because Bradley was meant to be on with Johnny Pringle last week, but he went on holiday and he missed the game, didn't you, Bradley?
Yeah.
Do you reckon you'd have got that prediction right?
No, I don't. I think you'd have been saying. Well, what was you thinking, honestly, going into the City game, Bradley? What did you think? Definitely getting beat here.
5-0. 5-0 or something like
that. So what are you? You're this Jekyll and Hyde team. I think all of us who watched the game at Old Trafford on the first Monday night, I mean, he was obviously unlucky with the decision, but you played great, right? All of us went, I instantly went, I might have judged them wrong, because they suddenly look like they're playing with freedom. They're playing offensively. They look like they're enjoying themselves. Then afterwards, things went wrong. And then it was like, well, actually, that was just Lopetegui's team against United. Now Gary O'Neill's got hold of it and it's gone to pot. And now you've just beat the treble winners. So what are you, Bradley? Good team? You bad team?
I still don't know yet, but I would say we look a bit more like we're going to score a bit more goals.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Than last season. But then sometimes it's just not like convincing in some other areas, especially at the back. But I think it's still hard to tell. I think by November I'll have a better idea, because sometimes you can't tell like pattern of plays either. Seems a bit hodgepodge still.
So you played well at United, and then actually, to be honest, you had a really ropey, awful start to the second half against Brighton. But actually, otherwise in that game, despite losing 4-1, you played all right. You won at Everton, which was a big game. I watched you at Palace. You were probably the better football team. I think Palace probably deserved to win by the end, but actually a lot of it was, Wolves have probably played the better stuff here. You were excellent for 45 minutes against Liverpool and then got overwhelmed. But then you didn't get overwhelmed by City holding on to the lead at the weekend. You rocked up at Luton and didn't turn up till you got a player sent off. It's difficult to put the finger on at the moment on the outside, like what you are, because there's so much good and bad in there. And the good seems to be popping up when maybe we'd least expect it, it feels at the moment.
Yeah, I think it might, because of the fact we might score more goals there, I think we might surprise a few more. Like against Liverpool, they probably would have won that game if Cunha doesn't miss that absolute sitter.
Yeah, maybe.
That was the moment. But if he scores that, we win.
So how do you feel about Gary O'Neill now? Now you've done 7 games with him. How do you feel about him? And do you feel better than you did prior to the Manchester United game?
I don't know how to feel about him. I've not got that much strong opinion yet still. I just don't. I'm not sure what we're trying to do sometimes still.
You're going to score more goals though, aren't you? Who's going to score them?
It looks Hwang.
There you go. There's your FPL pick.
The Korean guy. We'll get onto him and the Portuguese winger and Cunha in a little bit. But Lee, would you say on the outsider's opinion on Wolves? I feel better about them now than I did pre-game week 1. I was tipping them to go down in pre-season, and if you ask me now, I wouldn't.
No.
So therefore, despite some wild inconsistencies, surely I feel better about them now than I did before O'Neill was appointed. But I'm not sure that makes sense.
No, and I feel the same as you. That first game against Man United, it was like, where did that come from? But equally, I was kind of sat there thinking, well, it's the same problem they've had before, which is they play quite well and they haven't got anyone to put the ball in the net.
But you are right, Bradley. I mean, just looking over it, you've scored in every game, obviously, since United. It's 6 scored in the last 4. And I know it's not anything to go crazy over, but it's averaging 1.5 goals per game. When frankly,
it's better than normal.
Well, exactly. Yeah. It is. Since you've been promoted, you've kind of been knocking about like 1 per game, even when you were really good under sort of Nuno at the start. So if I feel you've become more interesting, I think, because offensively you look better, but you also look more susceptible. Against City, you obviously went with a 5-4-1. Do you think that sticks?
I think it might for the next match.
Specifically for Villa?
I think so.
Lee, reaction to that? Does that bother you? Do you think, we should play a back 4 or?
Not really. I think because they're at home, they're going to come out anyway. They're not going to just set up with a low block and 5 at the back. Even if they do play the 5, I think there'll still be spaces. So no, I haven't got that much preference on which formation they play.
If you win Saturday, Bradley, or Sunday, isn't it, the game? If you win Sunday, then it sticks, doesn't it? Because you'll get crucified if he then goes to Bournemouth and changes it and you get beat.
I still think he'll change it at some point. I still believe he'll keep it for that long. I think it might be opponent specific.
Okay. Lee, talk to me about this left-sided bias that we keep referencing with you. Is it there at the moment or not?
Well, if you look at the FPL points, you'd say clearly not, because Cash is getting attacking returns every other week. But I think it is still there. When you look at the average positions, that Cash, if we take the weekend, even though Cash got that assist against Brighton, he still wasn't bombing on that much. He was doing a job on Matoma for a lot of the game, sitting deeper. And if you look at the average positions, Dean was higher on the left. And of course, we've got Moreno that's had a setback on his injury, but he made a appearance on the bench a couple of weeks back. So he's certainly not far away. And when he comes back in, you'd expect him to be even more attacking than Dean is, and that left-sided bias will still stick there. That being said, though,
will he come back in?
I think so. Yeah.
Go on.
Dean's had some really good performances, but Moreno's Emery's man. It was his signing, pretty much his only signing that broke into the 11 last season.
Yeah, we felt clear of that in pre-season, and the one thing we keep warning, and this is obviously relevant to FPL specifically, obviously in relation to Matty Cash, is the influence on the right back if Moreno gets back in is going to be more profound, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
there a risk to Cash's place, specifically when Moreno comes back, i.e. it means Konsa moves to right back, for example?
There is, but I don't think it's a big risk. I don't think it should be out of your thinking, but I think it's probably one of those ones where if you've already played your wild card and you're looking for a signing that you know is going to be knocking around your squad for a long time, then yeah, maybe Cash, there's some risk there and you play it safer and go for Torres or Konsa. But generally, I wouldn't put anyone off getting Cash.
You said wild card. You're on it, aren't you?
I am, yes.
So which Villa defender's going in?
At the moment, it's Torres. But I think you can flip a coin between Konsa and Torres.
Go on then. I mean, just in the first instance, talk to me about that specifically, Torres versus Konsa.
Torres is better on the ball, really capable of pinging out a long pass, capable potentially, I think, of getting assists through those long balls against the right opposition if it's on a counter-attack or something. And Konsa probably more likely from set pieces to score goals, although I don't think either are particularly dangerous in terms of attacking returns. That's not why you're picking them. You're picking them because they're now 0.4 cheaper than Cash and you need the money.
If one of them came out the team, who would it be?
Torres and Konsa. It's tough. I don't think we need to worry about that. I don't think either.
Okay, no, that's a good enough answer. If you're looking at it and going, look, they're definitely first choice. We can't see a problem here with either of these two, irrespective of even if Torres covered at left back or Konsa covers at right back. Exactly. If you're saying they're definitely playing one way or the other, that's good enough. You don't. If
Emery thinks I want to get Carlos into that 11, I think it's Cash that would drop out, and like you said, Konsa might go to right back. I think Cash is more likely to come out of that 11, far more likely to come out of the 11 than Konsa or Torres.
Okay. So I take it Cash is a money problem, is it? That's not a pun, I promise.
Yeah, it is. But like I said, I wouldn't put anyone off getting him. There's a risk to minutes, but right now, with the attacking positions he's getting into, it's hard to argue against it.
I presume you definitely therefore think that risk is there for Luca Dean, because otherwise surely you just go Dean here.
Yeah, 100%. Right. The risk is there for Dean. When Moreno's fit, I think he comes back in.
Okay. Yeah. Again, we have to clarify that we're pre-recording on Monday night, and by the time you hear this, there might well be some additional team news on Villa, considering they're playing at home on Thursday night in Europe. Okay, that's interesting, because my assumption, Lee, would have been you'd have just forced in Cash and sacrificed somewhere else.
Yeah, and I may end up doing that. My wild card is on version 1, and as you know, I may well make 20 versions throughout the course of the week, because that's the sort of fun guy that I am.
That's an understatement, I would suggest, mate. But I mentioned that as well. I'd spoke about Ezri Konsa as an alternative to Cash for myself for similar reasons. Not in terms of I'm not on wildcard, but in terms of a transfer and thinking about future transfers and being very conscious of future moves and getting blocked, essentially. My take on Konsa over Torres was I felt that was a little bit safer, but I think I probably need to dig in a little bit more if you're saying you'd be very comfortable with Torres as well. My thought process with Torres was Longley, and I know he had a bad night in Poland, but it is definite cover, isn't it? Where I just literally cannot see how Konsa comes out of this. That's my take.
Yeah. I don't think either will come out, but yeah, you're probably right. It probably is slightly more likely that Torres would come out if one of them did. Don't disagree.
Bradley, any investment in Aston Villa defenders at the moment?
Well, I've already got Matty Cash, so
you've been on for a while, I presume.
Yeah, I think I've had him for 3 weeks.
Nice. Obviously, the interest is so high because of exactly what you said, Lee. Wolves away, West Ham at home, Luton at home, Forest away, Fulham at home. There's a trip to Tottenham, there's a trip to Bournemouth, then there's Man City. But certainly for at least the next 5, that looks really good. And actually,
probably 6.
I see what you've done now.
If anyone can't do the maths, 6 is the Tottenham.
I see what you've done now. And in the past, I'd have taken that. But no, I won't take it this year, actually. I'm sorry, going to Wild Lane in game week 13 is a tough game, especially for defensive assets, I will add. No, it's a really good run of fixture, but actually individually there's challenges in all of them. But as a collective, it's great. Wolves,
yeah, absolutely.
You lost there in May.
We've lost 5 out of the last 6 at Molineux.
Is that right? One of only 2 sides, I think, to stop you scoring so far under Unai Emery. Wolves is 1. You've got West Ham at home, is not an easy game, to be totally honest. Then there's Luton. Forest away, haven't lost at home since a long time, months and months and months.
Yeah.
And then Fulham is, if you don't play well on the day, is certainly a challenge as well. So there's challenges in all of them, but as a collective group of fixtures, we know why many are looking at even 3 on wildcard, Lee, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's not a run where you're looking at it going, oh my God, it's incredible. We've got to all triple up on Villa, but there's certainly some nice fixtures in there where you would hope there'd be returns.
I presume, just to kind of close on the defensive assets here, I presume Emi Martinez is just an ignore because all the defensive guys are cheaper, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's just too many options cheaper.
Yeah, the world-class Emi Martinez getting ignored.
Absolutely.
Again. I reckon, Bradley, lots of people will be looking at Villa midfielders potentially under the 6 million bracket. There's a few in there. Douglas Luiz, John McGinn, Jacob Ramsey's fit again. Or have you got 2 very good ones in there, mate, that we should be paying attention to now?
Potentially.
Who's the better one? Because I know everybody on the Bird app will tell me Pedro Neto. Are you going to tell me different?
I'd probably back Hwang because he's going to put the ball in the net more than Neto.
And he's a mid now, isn't he?
Yeah. The only problem with Hwang, though, he's got a history with Medi Glass.
He scored 4 times this season. I bet that statistic surprises a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not from many shots either, I don't think. He's always been decent if he gets an opportunity at goal.
It's not only that, Bradley. Saturday against City is the first time he's played more than an hour. So per minute, his goal ratio is good. He obviously scored the winner against City. He scored the opener against Liverpool. He scored at Selhurst Park. He scored against Brighton as well. I mean,
scored it against Ipswich as well.
I mean, I say Saturday was his first appearance of more than an hour. It's also the Liverpool fixture, and that's interesting. Liverpool and City are the only 2 games he's played that was more than 45 minutes. So is that what this is? Is he a risk? Because if I just looked at that and didn't know anything about the player, I'd go, well, he's getting rotated too much. He doesn't see enough expected minutes for me to want to get interested. Or is it that his performances have been so good recently that now he'll stay in this team?
He's coming back from an injury, so that's why his minutes are a bit shorter than they look. Because he's on the bench a few times. Because he had a hamstring issue.
Sure.
He's always had that little problem where it don't take much for him to get a knock and he'll come off. That's the only issue with Hwang.
He went off at Everton, I want to say, didn't he? Then he was only a sub at Palace. Okay. That makes sense. And I guess did he start against Luton or was he a sub?
He started.
So he was probably sacrificed because of the red card, I'm guessing, partly as well. Yeah, okay. So it's not as bad as it looks. So you think he stays in the team now?
Yeah, he'll stay as long as he's
I guess with this system, if you stick with it for the weekend, it will be the same 11 that beat Manchester City, won't it?
I think it will be. I'll be surprised if he changes that.
One thing that could change it is obviously the following week, when you go to Bournemouth in game week 9, Bellegarde will be back from suspension.
Yeah.
And for anyone who saw the Liverpool game, I think particularly first half, people would have been quite impressed and infused with what they saw about him. He's also very cheap in FPL, by the way. Does he come back into this and disrupt the system then?
Not if the system performs. I won't change it too much. But there will be rotation there. That's going to happen because he's not going to sit on the bench too much either, from what I've seen. Because his debut was really impressive.
So with rotation in mind, people will be screaming, well, that's what makes Pedro Neto a better choice, because he does, and I have to concede, I've been a little bit critical of people wanting to go there in FPL, but you look at the last 2 goals you scored and his incredible involvement in both of them, that's what people fell in love with this player about a couple of years ago in the first place. He looks almost back to his best, Bradley.
Yeah, he's back to his best now. He's taking people on like he used to. Last season, he had the great pre-season, and and I was bigging him up big time, but he seems to have a year's delay for some reason. I wish he backed it up last season.
No, but you never know with serious injuries like that if a player's ever going to rediscover their form at all. Never mind, it has taken a significantly long time, granted, but probably benefited from full pre-season. I'm guessing he's played every minute for you so far, mate.
Yeah, he's electric again. There, he'll be any player in the league 1-on-1 now again. He's frightening.
So if you had to buy Neto or Hwang today, which one are you buying?
I'm still going to pick Hwang.
All right, you got to define it for us, Bradley. Is this because Neto's an assist merchant and Hwang is a minutes problem but will score more goals?
Yeah, the goals thing. And I suspect Hwang might have a chance of taking a penalty.
Okay. Yeah, who do we think's on them?
Acuna, maybe. But I'd rather give it to Hwang. I suspect Hwang might get a penalty chance.
Okay. Lee, you're on wild card. Does any of this pick your fancy, mate?
No.
Lee's face said no for the benefit of those on the audio. Looked like he was going to the toilet, to tell you the truth.
No, I mean, I just think there's so many options, especially in midfield. And I just don't have enough confidence yet in Wolves being able to score enough goals. If there was a real clear, yeah, it's definitely Neto, or if it was definitely Hwang, then I'd probably feel more confident if there was a talisman. Don't feel like Wolves have got a talisman. They've got lots of good players that are going to contribute, I think. So that's where I struggle, I think, in terms of FPL picks.
That's a really, really interesting comment. I'd not really thought of it. He's almost like if Hwang wasn't scoring goals there, you'd look at him and go, he's definitely Neto. But there is a debate to be had there with Hwang at the moment. That's quite an interesting point. I'd not thought of it that way because I think in my mind, Bradley, before speaking to you, I'd have just been thinking, he's going to tell me Neto, isn't he? But I had an instinct the more I thought about it, you'd say, yeah, Hwang's doing really well, consider him.
He's proving to have that knack there that we signed him for. Neto's not going to score them sort of goals. Neto will put the ball for him to create it, but Hwang's going to get more points if he stays fit. Probably in the
4 goals you said this season, didn't you?
Hwang, yeah.
That's the same as Watkins.
Well.
Hwang gets an extra point for his goal.
I would also add though that from a fantasy perspective, Lee, Watkins has got double and a bit more, I think.
Yeah, I know. He's got lots of assists, but it did surprise me when you said that 4 goals. It's like, it does feel that's gone completely under the radar. No one's looking at him from an FPL point of view.
No,
certainly
not at all
on Twitter.
And I don't hate it. Like, to be honest, if someone's like, 5.4 for a midfielder at the moment, if we come below this level of the kind of group, and we're going to group some Villa players into this in a moment, if someone said midfield of 5.4 or under, I don't know. It's either go there or it's come all the way down, isn't it?
Yeah. And with 4 goals for that money, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is you probably bench him a lot, but I think a lot of people will be in a position they can bench someone like that this year rather than come down to your Andersons and your McAtees and your Mario Laminas, Bradley, and players like that. Let's club some of your midfielders in at this price bracket if we can, Lee, because as said, you've got McGinn, who I don't think's getting spoken about much. You've got Douglas Luiz, who is getting spoken about quite a lot.
Yeah.
And obviously Jacob Ramsey is a player I really like and obviously came on and scored at the weekend. And he's probably the really, really risky one at the moment because I guess we'd be under no fault seed start at the moment, would be, Lee. Is there any reason to rush him in?
No, it was a serious injury. He's been out for a while. I agree. I don't necessarily think he's going to start at the weekend. Although I wouldn't be at all surprised if he does start at the weekend because he's such a talent. He scored, he looked fine, but we just don't know where he's at in terms of fitness.
Douglas Luiz scored in 5 consecutive home games? Was that the stat I saw or heard?
Yeah, first player since Gareth Barry to do that for Villa.
No,
really,
that's
seriously.
wild. So should we be looking at him 5.4? He's scoring regularly. I mean, that's an open play goal on top of the obvious threats he gives from direct free kicks and, in his case, direct corners as well. Is he under consideration for you?
Not particularly, no. I just because I'm not buying at that price point. if I was, then yeah, why not? I think any penalty taker for a team that's a top half Premier League team, I think we'd agree on, you'd be happy taking them if they're that cheap. The weirdest thing is with Douglas Luiz from an FPL point of view is he's 5.4 now. Like at the start of the season, he wasn't on penalties.
Yeah,
and someone's seen his performances and gone, yeah, I'm going to get off that.
He was one I felt like closer to game week 1. He was starting to get mentioned because I think people looked at Klotz and it was like, hang on, when you look at the 5.5s and unders, I think he was the highest scoring last season across all the teams. People was like, how's that? Oh, actually, he's on set pieces. Oh, and actually, he's on more set pieces. And arguably, if we'd have known going into game week 1, he was going to be on the pens as well.
Yeah.
Which we didn't. He probably would have been more popular. So why do you think he has lost value?
I honestly have no idea. My only assumption can be that casuals are going, well, Diaby's looking more exciting. I'll find the money and upgrade to that.
I don't think that's just casuals, though, in fairness.
You don't like using that word, do you?
To be honest, people get really upset with it. Do you want to have a trivia guess? Trivia guess at 5.4 and under, high scoring midfielder in FPL at the moment?
Ooh, this season.
It's not Hwang or Douglas Luiz, by the way, who are both 5.4. Someone else has been very consistent in 2023.
Team, give us a hint. What club?
He assisted at the weekend. If you want to play along at home. I'll tell you what, I'll go one better for you because there's only 2 people I can be if I say this. He assisted on Sunday. And no, it's not Harry Toffolo.
Oh, Jensen.
Yes. Sash
Very
Jensen.
good. Well done, Bradley.
Who took the free kick, much to the upset of Mbeumo owners. So, Lee, if you had to go Hwang or Douglas Luiz, 5.4, or Matthias Jensen, where are you going?
I think just on a fixture play and pens, I'd go Luiz.
Bradley, are these fixtures of yours being overlooked? Because you've got difficult home games. And you've had them since the start, right? You've played Brighton, Liverpool, Tottenham at home so far. You've got coming up Villa, Newcastle, Tottenham. I see you in Wolverhampton, right? That's your next 3 at home. So that's a rough opening 6 home games. It's meant that since the United away game, you can argue group these in with the others, the away games have been kind. So because your capability to win some of these games at home, does that make this a decent run? Because you've beat Villa at home this year. You've beat my team, although it's like in a prehistoric memory now. You've beat Chelsea. You've now beat City. You can beat these teams at home, can't you?
Yeah, we've always thought that anyway. A lot of the time, like under Lopetegui, you punch quite a few of the bigger teams in the nose, which we used to do under Nuno, though. People used to hate coming to Molineux.
It's a tough place to go. Just ask Villa.
Yeah, when it gets up at the right time, it is. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Villa at home, Bournemouth away, Newcastle at home, Sheffield United away, Tottenham at home, Fulham away. There's a trip to Arsenal, and then Burnley becomes your kind of first attractive home game, which is game week 15 in December. But therefore, is that a decent run overall? Because you're actually capable of winning all them games. Probably, I realise Arsenal away would have 0 expectation.
It is, but like the law of Wolves is you don't know what you're going to get. So it's just turn up, see what happens. Because there's no point looking at our fixtures and thinking this or that.
Bring your bleach.
That's the hard way now. It's just let's see what happens. And if bleach is needed later, go find some.
The law of Wolves. Okay, Lee, talk to me about John McGinn. Is that completely being overlooked? I know he was saying pre-season, he's like, I promised the boss I'm going to get more goals this season. There's things that are off-putting, like you mentioned, playing at left back against Everton in the Carabao Cup, but I assume that's a one-off. An option or not?
No, I just think there's better options if you want to invest in Villa. Like we said, Douglas Luiz isn't a bad option. When Jacob Ramsey gets back into the 11, and I expect he will at some point, he's a better option than McGinn. But the pick of the bunch is Moussa Diaby for me. Okay,
let's work on an assumption, and we think at the time of recording Monday evening, the most likely scenario is that he will play at Wolves. We think he'll probably get a rest Thursday, would we say, Lee, in prediction? Yeah. Okay. So he's going in for you, is he? As long as he's given the nod and the okay.
Yeah, if I know he's fit, he's in.
What's so good about him? As a player, first and foremost.
Well, I think if we take it back to first game of the season, first game in the Premier League, new country, new teammates, new division, that finish against Newcastle in what was otherwise a torrid afternoon, it was one chance, one goal. And so far, he's been pretty clinical. He hasn't had loads of chances, but when he has had them, he's taken them. And he's also contributed with assists as well. He just looks a real handful, playing in that role alongside Watkins in the front two, little and large.
A critic might say he's not scored since game week 3.
Yeah, and that's fair. But I'd be very surprised if he doesn't score in the next 5.
Yeah, no, I think he's a very, very solid pickup. Would you pick him over Bowen?
Stuff.
These are the sort of dilemmas wildcards are going to have here, surely.
Yeah, it's the sort of dilemma I've got. Yeah, Bowen's very good. What's the price difference between the two? About
Bowen's
same,
more,
aren't they?
as time recording, sort of 7-2, and it's worth saying that your next two are better, I would say, in fairness, than West Ham's. But then West Ham coming to their own brilliant run from game week 10, and I think Bowen's highly likely to be the highest scoring player, if you will, at West Ham, whereas Diaby's probably not that for you.
No. Yeah, if I was buying one this week, it would be Diaby. Cheaper, okay. Better fixtures.
About Eze.
I haven't got Palace's fixtures in front of me. I don't know.
I've got them second best on my FDR next 8 game weeks. I've got you third. 8. I've got you third, by the way.
So for someone like me that's on wildcard, next 8 is very relevant because I need a long-term pick. Yeah, it felt like Eze was really, really popular pre-season, and rightly so. He's clearly a real talent, but the points haven't quite been there, have they? What's he got? No. 1 goal, 1 assist.
If his mate Aliso returns soon, that would help.
Yeah, probably. But no, Eze's not really in the picture for me.
So I think you've decided Diaby's going in, right?
Probably, yeah.
He's FPL's highest scoring player going in as well.
Yeah, he is now, isn't he? The highest scoring player. But no, at the moment, he's not in for me. I just think the saving on Alvarez playing for the best team in the league is worth it. But...
We're the best team in the league. We beat them.
Yes, Bradley.
Go on, Bradley.
Very good point.
Oh, definitely. When's the rematch with City? I'll stick you on with Pringle, mate.
Let me tell you something, Johnny. We're the best team in the league now. Love it. No, Watkins isn't in for me, but it's worth saying.
Oddly enough, close. I can only see one team above mine at the moment, so yeah.
No, Watkins isn't in for me as it stands, but yeah, very close. I think I'm just a bit bitter though because I sold him 2 weeks ago for Alvarez.
Oh no, you and many others.
I know.
What made you do it? I mean, because it genuinely is a perfectly reasonable move, I think, at the time. Yeah. Lots of people were asking me, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable about it for a hit, but for a free transfer, I completely get why anybody would make that move. Because you're looking at Watkins, you're going, he's ticking, but this guy might explode.
Yeah,
in the
that's ultimately it. Yeah. You're looking at Forest at home, playing for City. You're looking like he's going to start every week. Yeah, and I mean, he did score last week. So yeah, that was just it. It was a fixture play. It was... I think the biggest thing that swung it for me is the price. If they'd have been the same price, I'd have been less inclined to do it. But it was the fact that for me, selling him meant that I had 1.3 in the bank, and that allowed me to get Trippier in. So
this is interesting, Lee. You've got the highest scoring player in the game, plays for your team. He's 6 million cheaper than Erling Haaland, and you're telling me you're not going now. So are you telling me you're just going to go Diaby? You're not even going to go bloody Matty Cash either. You're probably going to go cheaper. What are you playing at, mate?
Well, at the moment, my draft has got Salah, Son, and Haaland and Saka in. So there's not much money left after that.
Okay, this makes sense now. So which one of the big boys do you think you'll end up binning for Watkins at the last minute?
I don't know.
Lee, you're not going without him for these fixtures, mate. You know, everybody's piling into him. You do know that, don't you?
Yeah, but at least then it's like a win-win. If he goes off, like on Saturday, when he scored that 3rd goal, I wasn't thinking about my FPL team. I was dancing on the table.
All right, let me put this a different way to you then. game week 10 is definitely a game week you can take Haaland on, right? It's Manchester derby, subject to what condition United are in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Salah's got Forest at home, tick. Saka has got Sheffield United at home, tick. There's definite alternative options. Maybe Tottenham players at Crystal Palace, maybe. Ollie Watkins says Luton at home. Do we need to put him in this conversation?
The captaincy?
Yeah, in game week 10.
Nah, I don't think you can.
What,
I
the
mean,
guy,
we'll see.
the guy who just got 5 attacking returns at the weekend, mate?
It probably depends where Luton are at that point, because they did get a win at the weekend. If they're showing some resilience, then probably not. If they're looking like real whipping boys, then yeah, maybe. Okay.
I mean, yeah, look, I would captain Saka and and Salah over him just for clarity, but might feel different in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
you might feel there's a surge for it, particularly if Tottenham did beat Luton well at the weekend. You might get there's a surge for that, particularly if say there was is Salah going to start or anything? Who knows what the narratives will be? We're talking like 4 weeks away here.
A lot can change.
Is he a captaincy option though? Even not just for that week, but just someone reliable for any good fixture. He's vice captain material, kind of, really, in a way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, goals, assists, yeah, and he's also very streaky. When he hits a good run, he tends to go on these runs where he'll score every week, and he feels like he's in one now. I'm talking myself into getting him.
I was literally going to say, can you say that back to yourself and then tell me again that you're not going to get him?
This is it. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of saw enough last year, that really helped me all this period because I've had him since the start, was knowing definitely his consistency there. And I know there was murmuring even before you went to Chelsea that he might come out the team. And I just couldn't foresee it. He's so consistent and so important to the way that you play. I took the decision that I didn't think I could take him out and then be in this position now. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to wildcard him back in.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good, mate.
But I do get it because you want to fit in all the other players that you've said. So I don't think I joke in all seriousness. I don't think anyone who's on wildcard has to put him in at this stage, not at all. Because I do think in Diaby there's someone that can be very competitive, but it won't feel like that psychologically, Lee, right now. I don't think.
No, and it's the saving on Diaby, and it's the fact he's a mid, so you're getting a point extra for each goal. You're getting your odd clean sheet point potentially.
So are you intending to go Haaland and Alvarez?
Yeah.
Not just Alvarez to Watkins, no?
I don't think I can afford it.
All right, we'll look at something. Bradley, is Ollie Watkins in your FPL team? I feel like that's going to be a no because you hate Villa. But... No. Are you going now? Look at Bradley's frozen. We'll move on to Lee.
Not at the minute.
Oh, Bradley is there. He said not at the minute. You are moving, Bradley, I think. Can you wave at us?
Maybe after this week.
Okay. His mouth isn't moving him with his arms. It's, maybe after this week. So you don't want him against Wolves, essentially. Yeah, definitely should have gone to Lee. His voice is going to come in about 30 seconds, isn't it? Go, no, I don't actually, James.
Going to interrupt you.
Jose Sarr. Are you there, Bradley?
In spirit or in body?
Good. Right, I can hear you. Watkins, you're not going now?
After this week, maybe.
Diaby?
No, I don't think I will for Diaby.
Okay. And you've already got cash, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, what Wolves you got? Why are you laughing?
None.
Do you not just feel like Jose Sarr is a goalkeeper that could just sit in your team all year in FPL? We have this. Oh, why is he coming at 5 million? Yet again, he's nearly outscoring your defensive players by double. That's why he's more expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can get David Raya there, can't you, cheaper? So.
Yeah, but he plays for them, mate. That's not very appealing. And Lee's already told us that Emi Martinez, the world-class Emi Martinez, he's not worth a go. So, on a seriousness, if someone said to you, Bradley, I want to get a Wolves defensive player for this run, who would you buy? And that can include a goalkeeper.
Lee Dawson, just for the goal threat that he can give you. That's about it. The only difference between a lot of them.
Okay. Any love for Cunha? Because I think there will be people, again, particularly wildcard at the moment, looking at, say, going Archer and go, I'm going Archer and I've got $1 million spare. Any love for him?
No, Archer will score more goals if he gets a chance.
For the benefit of those on the audio, Bradley has perfected the ability to speak without moving his lips, which is it's actually some achievement. Lee, I presume you've got no Wolves, assets at the moment.
Correct.
Any intention?
No, probably not.
Okay. What about John Duran, Lee?
From an FPL point of view, not an option. From a footballing point of view, really exciting.
Is it not an option because of minutes, or not an option because how would we feel if something happened to Watkins?
If something happens to Watkins, he's in.
You want to go there instantly? Would you want to go there instantly?
Probably, yeah. With that fixture run, it came out in the week that Watkins has done his ACL. God forbid. Yeah, I'd probably get Duran straight in.
Okay. Tell us about some of these exciting kids. Amari Kellyman.
Yeah, got man of the match in the Conference League home leg against Hibs. Yeah, he's 17, I think. Really exciting prospect. He's the only one that's a real youngster that's come through into that 11 in the last 12 months, because obviously Duran was bought in January. Yeah, looks good.
Okay, cool. Bradley's returned, I think. Give us a wave, Bradley. Cheers, mate. We're gonna let you go because you keep dipping in and out, mate. But give us a correct score prediction before you do.
1 each.
Is that brave, or are you hiding your true feelings?
They just tend to struggle at Molineux, so.
It's true.
But
I think that's only when you go, mate. Oh, you're talking about Villa struggle at Molineux, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, are you going to the game, Bradley, first? Because that'll affect your prediction.
Yes, this one. But I've seen Wolves beat Villa a lot well recently. So
yeah, I was going to say, see, he was beginning to think that I was cursing, because every time I rocked up at Molineux, my team won until they went there in March and got their trousers pulled down. You know what the best bit is, Bradley? That was one of our best performances of the second half of last season. And we still yeah, that's that. Adam Traore, what a ledge. We miss him. Go on, Lee, correct score prediction.
Well, as Bradley's going, they're obviously not going to win. So it'll be 2-0 Villa.
Clean sheet, yeah?
Yeah, maybe.
Would you play this week Cash over Estupiñán?
Who Brighton got?
Liverpool at home.
Yeah, I'd play Cash.
Would you play Cash over Dan Burn, West Ham away?
Yeah.
Would you play Cash over Joachim Anderson, Nottingham Forest at home?
No.
Would you play Cash over Destiny Udogie, Luton away?
No.
Obviously not. Bradley, anything you want to promote before you go, mate?
No, actually, I think I'm all right.
All right, good stuff. What about you, Lee?
Just patreon.com/Planet FPL, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. That one. Yeah.
Yeah, well done, guys. Yeah. Where you can find Lee, actually, on our Money in Football podcast, penciled in for October the 19th, where I understand, Lee, if you want to give a little brief preview, you want to have a rant about some stuff behind the scenes at Villa.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a shambles, really. So we've got a new sporting director. That's not his actual title, but basically sporting directors come in and just done U-turns left, right and centre, put hospitality into the Holt end without consulting fans, messed up on the crest that we were going to have, this round badge, and now said that he doesn't want it, and doing all of this without actually talking to the fans. He's not put out a single interview or anything. We haven't seen him talk to us. So yeah. It's not everything's brilliant on the pitch, and that's probably the only reason why the fans aren't kicking off.
Yeah, I was going to say the club feels united again, so that will surprise people to hear that, and that's why I want to speak to you about it and find out what's going on there, because it feels like at the time the football club's finally coming together again. I felt that atmosphere when I went there in May, like really good, mate. Everyone's coming together. Would you want to start doing these things? I'm keen to speak to you about that. Really look forward to that, mate. Brilliant. You can follow Bradley at Parker_Bradley. You can follow Lee at Lee. What's your handle these days? I always forget what year you was born.
92.
I
That's
can't
Lee _Jackson _92.
I can't believe you're that old, mate. Thank you very much. Right, I have to remember what I'm doing now because I'm pre-recording this on Monday night. Should be an Ask James stream for you guys tomorrow on Friday. There will be 3 Clash of the Correspondents during the interlull. I don't know what times yet, as in what days and what order, but it'll be Manchester City versus Brighton with Johnny Pringle and Sam Murray. Newcastle versus Crystal Palace with Simon Bibby and Rory McLaughlin-Dowd, and the mighty Tottenham Hotspur against Fulham with Ricky Saunders and Dara Curran. Just leaves me to say to Bradley and whoever the young lady from your family is in the background, have a great evening. It's magic. Stuff. I love it here, mate. Bradley, Lee, thank you so much, guys. Good luck for the weekend. Cue music, please, man child.